Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bob Landino. I'm the CEO of Centerplan Companies, which is 3 separate operating companies. So maybe, if you don't mind, I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about who we are, for those of you that don't know us, and then introduce Yves Josephs, who is the project manager and kind of the key person that's going to work on this assignment and manage it through the process of planning and construction and leasing and then property management at the conclusion of its inception. And then after that, ask Jeff Bianco from Northeast Collaborative, who is an architect from Middletown, who has designed several buildings in and around the immediate vicinity. And we'll talk a little bit about image and planning, realizing though that this is somewhat premature for us. Typically, we're 2 or 3 months from this point before we're presenting any plans or concepts or ideas to the public after we've had a chance to do some specific planning ourselves. Because of the nature of Wesleyan asking us to join them in an investigation of whether or not to relocate your bookstore to our site or proposed development site, it became public earlier than is typical for us. So we don't have much to present in specifics, and in some ways that's an opportunity for everyone to express what they like and what they don't like, and if we do go forward, then ultimately have those interested join us in a charrette of sorts to try to help us plan this proposal in a way that is as harmonious as possible with its surroundings. Just briefly, Centerplan. I started the company almost a decade ago. My background is in design and engineering. Started a design firm in the mid-'80s, and that ultimately ended up being 9 offices and about 300 employees in architecture, planning, and engineering. Sold it to employees, and it became an ESOP about 8 or 9 years ago, and its home office is in Middletown, Connecticut. So I've spent my entire life working for clients and also working on our own proposals in the planning and design of all types of projects and developments. In addition to that, I've spent a good portion of my life in public service, so I've been on both sides of the table, understanding the concerns of communities and those that are interested, sometimes in support, sometimes not, in what we like to do. So, I understand many of the concerns firsthand, having been a selectman in a town and in other public positions where I was in the position that many of you are in this afternoon. We came to Middletown about 5 years ago. We bought the building that was once the Middletown Press, not the most attractive building on Main Street, but we set aside a commitment to invest in Main Street, and we not only built a 32,000 square foot building at our location, which includes the Mondo restaurant and the Rite Aid Pharmacy, but in fact our offices are on the 2nd floor. And we have no intention of leaving Middletown, so if you ever need to speak to us, it's an easy commute for anyone here to simply take the steps to the 2nd floor, knock on our door, and we're neighbors and we're part of the community, and we tend to be that for a long time. We believe in investing both our physical dollars and our human capital in the city. And since we've been to town, we've tried to invest in the community in a number of ways. We invest in the workforce development summer program, where we bring some of the high school students into our shop, and they work in our environment and get a chance to see what it's like to work in the types of businesses that we're involved in. We are also this year the title sponsor, one of the title sponsors for Midnight on Main Street. So we did it last year for the first time. I believe we sponsored the fireworks, and we had a great time and thought it was a huge success. And we thought that we should increase our level of commitment this year, and so we're involved in that as well. In addition to that, we developed 100 Main Street, which is a small building that was an empty Pelton's Pharmacy building that now houses a dialysis center and 2 or 3 small retail, I believe 2 retail storefronts, and their corporate offices as well. Finally, we own Green Skies, which is a renewable energy company that's also located at our offices on the 2nd floor above Mondo. And we are involved in developing photovoltaic solar projects around the Northeast, and we've become one of the most active in this region and probably a few years ahead of our time. It's now catching up, and we're active throughout the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic states, building approximately 25 megawatts in the pipeline now of renewable energy projects, specifically PV solar. Our plans, if this does go forward, is to move Centerplan Development and Green Skies to this building, as well as having it be the home for some retailers and a couple of restaurants possibly, and hopefully Wesleyan's bookstore. Run by a national operator. We are currently in discussions with several, but certainly that's something for a later date and not for this afternoon. That's a little background about us. What I'd like to do is introduce friend and comrade Yves Josephs. Yves has been with us for 3 or 4 years.
Getting there.
Yeah, and met him fresh out of Harvard, where we hired his old firm based in Washington, D.C. And he was working for a development consultant. We hired him to help us on some assignments that we were involved in, and Yves quickly became a friend and someone that I rely on personally to do most of the complex development work in our office. And so Yves Josephs will give you some brief description of what we do know about what we're planning. And then Jeff Bianco from Northeast Collaborative will give you an idea of some of the thoughts we've had about the physical aspects of our development. And then I'll make some closing remarks and open it up to questions and dialogue. So thank you for your time. We appreciate the interest, and we look forward to the discussion.
Thanks, Bob. I wanted to just take the kind of opportunity to just provide some context and background on the project. I mean, obviously there's a lot of information that's kind of circulating throughout the community, but wanted to make sure that you guys understand what we are and what we aren't doing. And even before that, set the stage by providing background on kind of how we got where we are. About a year ago, we began working with Jackie over at Sterling Realtors to conceive of a project on Washington Street. The assemblage is well known now. It's on the hard corner of Pearl and Washington Street, and there are 4 homes there. We met with Jackie to talk about this opportunity. We thought it was a very unique opportunity in Middletown to really present a really interesting development. There's not a lot of land on Washington Street that close to Main Street that presents an opportunity to put a development there that can actually catalyze economic development, create something that brings activity, brings excitement, just really enhances that environment for both Wesleyan, for both the community, as well as Main Street. The opportunity to kind of hit all 3 of those elements of that triangle is unique. And so we began to evaluate this to figure out what type of uses, what type of project could we conceive to really do this opportunity justice. In the very initial aspects and elements of the conversation, we thought there were certain retail users that were interested and are interested in Main Street, Middletown, and Washington Street. And so we began to think about how to put a project together around these retail users. We had several nationals that we've been negotiating with and in detailed conversations with. But as we kind of kicked that can down the road, as we developed these ideas, it became very clear to us that just a simple retail development on this particular piece of land was not really doing justice to the opportunity that we have here, just by virtue of where the site is located. So we began to kind of brainstorm amongst ourselves and with others in the community to really try to determine what is the real appropriate approach to develop this site. We obviously have retail on the ground floor that we can start from, but how do we add to this program to make something that we can all be proud of, we can all buy into? We looked at residential as an opportunity. Do we want to go up 2 or 3 stories on top of retail with residential uses there, as there's residential there currently on the site? You know, after batting it back and forth a little bit, we came to the conclusion that residential was maybe a little too sleepy of a use. I mean, it's not really going to create the activity. It's not going to really tie Washington Street and Main Street to Wesleyan University. So we thought that that was maybe a 2nd or 3rd option, but there was probably something better that we could do, something more inspiring that we can do there. We then looked at office space. Said, well, what if we bought an office user there that's going to be really interesting and kind of allow us to build a building of substance on this corner that people can kind of see as a gateway as they enter into Main Street and as they enter into Wesleyan University. We thought that was a better option than residential, but certainly not really attracting the vibrancy and the life that we were trying to you know, really bring to this site to maximize the opportunity. Then there was an interesting conversation that began kind of in our offices and then also outside of our offices through, you know, Jackie's inspiration largely, was, you know, Wesleyan's bookstore. What if we were able to relocate that to the site to really create a center of gravity for the student body to kind of mingle, to socialize, to interact and really kind of add some energy to Washington Street as you